And this is episode number 12 of the Lifestylepreneur podcast with guest Danny Iny, where he shares how to grow a massive email list from guest blogging. This is one you do not want to miss. Welcome to the Lifestyle Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Kris Gilbertson, and I'm an author, speaker, and a coach to teaching you how to launch your own successful podcast. And the reason I designed this show is to bring you the top lifestyle entrepreneur experts from all over the world for them to share their key strategies that they've used to launch their own businesses and allow them to live life on their own terms. So tune in every Friday for new episodes and come on over and join the Lifestyle Entrepreneur community at www.lifestyleacademy.com. There you're going to receive VIP training from specific guests from the podcast, along with being able to watch all of the interviews. And I'll also be making it really easy for you to implement these strategies that you're hearing by sending you what I like to call the Lifestyle Cliff Notes on the best lessons learned on the podcast. So let's get started. All right, so before we get started with the show, I just want to thank everyone who is subscribing and leaving awesome reviews in iTunes. I'm so excited that people are enjoying these interviews. And I'm excited to announce First Fridays. So what I'm going to be doing the first Friday of every month, we're going to have a raffle for those of you that have subscribed to the podcast and then also left a review. And it'll be a raffle for $25 gift cards from iTunes, Amazon, eBay, all over the place. So all you simply need to do is just subscribe to the podcast in iTunes and then leave us a review and your name will go in a hat and we'll announce that the first Friday of every month. All right, now for a quick shout out for one of our loyal listeners. This is from Joel Levinson, and he says, Kris is bringing the right people together. Absolutely impressed by who Kris has assembled to help us, and I'm able to apply the truths her guests talk about almost immediately in my business plans. And I'm so excited to hear that because that's exactly what I want you to be able to take away from this podcast. Actionable key training that you can implement, turn right around from the podcast, and be able to implement in your business. So excited that you're listening and enjoying it, Joel. Thanks again. And if you want to get put in the raffle for First Fridays, again, just simply put your name, subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and then leave us a review with your name, and then I'll put you in the raffle and you're in it till you win. So listen the first Friday of every month to find out if you're a winner for gift cards to your favorite stores like Amazon, iTunes, eBay, Target, Visa, all over the place. So now let's get to the show. Well, welcome everyone. I'm so excited for my guest today. His name is Danny Iny, and he's the founder of Firepole Marketing, and he's the author of the Amazon best-selling book, Engagement from Scratch. But what he's better known as is the Freddy Krueger of blogging. And the reason he got that nickname is because when he launched his business not too long ago online, he started and grew his business massively successfully, and he did it through prolific guest posting. So he had been featured as a guest blogger in over 80 plus blogs and major online organizations and publications in less than a year. And so today he teaches guest blogging, and he's also going to teach us today on this interview how you can actually do the same in your business, and how he teaches entrepreneurs all over the world how to do the same, build their brand reputation and platform quickly through blogging and content marketing. So Danny, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Yeah, well, thank you for taking the time, because I know you have built an amazing business literally in less than 18 months, would you say?
Well, it depends when you start and when you kind of now we're about 2.5 years in. But now at this point, we've grown a lot. I mean, I've got 6 people on staff now, so that happened pretty fast.
Exactly. And I think it's just brilliant what you've done it all from content, and I think it's incredible. So I'd love for you to share for everyone your journey and how you became the expert in your field.
Sure. So I'll share actually a bit of the backstory. So my story, you can kind of say it starts in 2008. In 2008, I was not doing any of this stuff. I was running a literacy education startup. We built software that teaches kids how to read, which is something that I was very passionate about, and I continue to be very passionate about. But in 2008, the markets crashed, and it destroyed the company. Even though we had some good successes, but it all fell apart, and everything just went went to crap, basically. Like, I had to let all my employees go.
Oh,
My investors lost all their money, and I wasn't comfortable with that.
right.
So I took a lot of that on myself, and I got stuck with like $250,000 of debt. And while I was building this startup, the pipeline on my consulting and coaching business had dried up. And so I had no clients in the pipeline, no customers, $250,000 of debt. It was not a good place to be.
Right.
But so, they say when life gives you lemons, you've got to make lemonade. And, that's sometimes that's not so practical. Sometimes the best you can do is just like, start putting one foot in front of the other.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started rebuilding my consulting practice. And that's what I did in 2009. I did okay. I went to the networking events, I shook hands and gave out business cards, did all that. And I was doing okay, but I found that I was bumping up against this very low ceiling of how far I could grow, because the better I did, the less time and energy I had left over to grow any further.
Mm-hmm.
And so I realized I really need to diversify the way a lot of people are thinking about doing now, diversify into the online world, leverage the online space. And I also realized I needed to get some help. So I started to set the wheels in motion. I hired my first person actually in 2010, but I kind of started the process earlier. And 2010 is also the year I started looking at blogging. And I had no idea what I was doing. I had this vague idea that blogging was somehow related to selling, and I would write content and customers would come. But I didn't see how the dots connected. I just kind of accepted on faith that they were supposed to connect. And that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because if you don't understand how it fits, you're probably missing something. And so even though I worked really hard, I got zero traction in 2010. It was in 2011 that it really kind of clicked for me that it's about the audience, it's about the relationships that you build with the audience. And as I really kind of came to understand that, and I did more and more things that were consistent with that, so I started to be invited to write for all these major blogs, and my work started to be featured there, like Copyblogger and ProBlogger and Freelance Switch and Forbes and all these really great places. And by doing all of those things, I was able to start building relationships with authorities, and we'll talk about that guest posting spree in more detail in a moment if you like. But by doing all that, I built these relationships, and I got all my co-authors on board, and we published the book Engagement from Scratch at the end of 2011, which, I just started it earlier that year. It was like a very rapid project.
Yeah.
And I wasn't expecting the success that it's had. It was downloaded over 20,000 times in the first year. It's got over 100 5-star reviews on Amazon.
Fantastic.
It was based in kind of on the aftermath of that foundation. In 2012, the business just exploded. We launched Write Like Freddy, the blog writing training program. We accepted almost 1,000 students into the program. Mm-hmm. I published the Naked Marketing Manifesto, this short 42-page PDF, small pages with large print, and it went crazy viral, turned into this crowd-funded book project phenomenon that I'm working on now. Mm-hmm. I was able to hire more people. My team continued to expand. And we grossed, so from a financial standpoint, in 2011, I was still making money from offline consulting type stuff. Didn't make any money online in 2011. I was still just building the audience. Mm-hmm. In 2012, all of our income came from our online activity. It was over $250,000 in revenue.
Wow, that's amazing. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. Mm-hmm. And since then, 2013 now, we're continuing to grow. We've literally, if you look at when we hired over the last 12 months, we grew by 300%.
Yeah.
And it's growing phenomenally fast, and it's all based on the audience. And at the core, the relationships that we built with the audience, they all started with content. Mm-hmm. So that's the story in a nutshell.
It's brilliant, and I didn't know about the beforehand of how you got actually into the online space from what you did with your company before. So that's amazing. Just going through that and going forward, that's enough inspiration for so many people to just keep moving forward. Because I know a lot of people have been upset with what's happened in the past 5 years in the real estate market, and being able to know that there is another platform that you can create a sustainable, really, really incredible business. So I'd love for you to talk about, I think there's this question, you might get this a lot too, is do you build the audience first or do you make the product first? And to build the
audience first.
Excellent. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Build the audience first. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, the very fundamental insight. If nobody knows who you are and nobody likes you and nobody trusts you, selling anything is very hard.
Exactly.
And if thousands of people know you and like you and trust you, selling anything is easy. Now, it's not to say that you can sell garbage, because then they're going to stop liking you and trusting you. Right,
but, exactly.
And there is some expertise around marketing and salesmanship and so forth, but relatively speaking, the hard part is done. Mm-hmm. So focus on building the audience first, because A, it's much easier, and B, it's going to prevent you from spending all this time building something that you then discover when you go to people that, hey, nobody wants this. And it's an unfortunately very common experience for entrepreneurs, online and offline. I mean, thank goodness, relatively speaking, you can make those mistakes more affordably in the online world, but it's still
exactly. Mm-hmm.
And I want to go back to something that you touched on, kind of the idea that a lot of people have been hit with the economy, with the markets, with the real estate space, and it's a scary place to be, and it's true. It's not a fun place to be. But the mindset that is worth cultivating, I've been having discussions with a bunch of people about this recently, is that a lot of people kind of look for, if you look at the metaphor of a train, so maybe you've got to work hard to make some money to get your ticket. You've got to run to catch the train and find a seat. But once you get there, you're on the train, you're like, you can just, as long as you keep an eye on the stations, you're kind of comfortable, the train's kind of ticking along. And that's what people kind of think of in terms of what they want for themselves as a path through life. Now, the reality is, certainly for an entrepreneur, there is no train. That never happens. It's more like, and I'll use the analogy of surfing because I think it works, but I don't surf and I could be way off. So if I am way off, please bear with me.
No, let's hear it. I love it.
So there's the same ramp up, right? I mean, you've got to work hard to make money to buy a surfboard and take lessons and practice and fall and whatever. Mm-hmm. But once you get past that point, you get to that point where you've got a good surfboard and you're competent, you know how to do it, you're out there on the water, you're never just sitting there and, you can just whatever, relax and it just happens. But you're still fine because you're confident in your abilities to handle whatever the waves are going to throw at you.
Right.
And that's the mindset that you need. It's like, yeah, you know what? A lot of shit happened in 2008 and more recently as well, but that doesn't matter because you have what it takes to figure out how to ride it out and find the opportunity there to do something that's going to be impactful for other people and sustainable and valuable for you.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant, Danny. I'm glad you shared that because it really, and I know that was a struggle, and it's still something that always happens as an entrepreneur, but when I first got into the space, you don't know what to expect, and there's always problems being thrown your way, and you just have to learn to know they're always going to be there, and to know that you have the confidence to keep moving forward with it. I think that's brilliant, and it is. I mean, surfing, I'm a horrible surfer. I snowboard, but you never know what's going to get thrown at you and what's going to be going on, but you always get back up is the other thing, too, so.
Yeah, exactly. So you wipe out, but whatever, it's just water.
Yeah,
you'll pick yourself back up.
Exactly. So I'd love for you to share, what do you think from your takeaways, what is the biggest thing that you've been overcome in your business and how you got through that? Because I know mindset is important, but were there any other skill sets you needed?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. I don't notice the mistakes. I just kind of plow forward. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, I could write, never mind a book, I could write an encyclopedia of all the stuff we tried that didn't work. But like, I think that's almost what I would point to. Like mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about kind of history then. And I'm in the online business education space.
Right.
And if you look at the online business space in general, it's a very young space. The industry has only been around for what, like 15 years or something, right?
Yeah, that's like the max.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you have a new industry, any new industry, you have a gold rush because there's this brand new space, there's opportunity, and people rush in. You saw it with the actual gold rush. You saw it with the beginning of the internet. You saw it with the app stores.
Right.
For the iPhone. Like, this is what happens when you have a new industry. There's a gold rush.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy to make money because if you're one of the first people in, your share of voice is enormous. Mm-hmm. So it's much easier to get attention. And when it's a nascent space, it's much less structured and disciplined. It's like the Wild West, right? It's much easier to do stuff.
Yeah.
And that's great. That attracts a lot of really resourceful and opportunistic entrepreneurs. It also attracts a lot of people who just want to make a quick buck. And so a lot of the things that people were doing and then teaching as, the secrets of making money online or whatever.
Right.
It wasn't about building a business. It wasn't about creating value. It wasn't about anything sustainable.
Right.
It was tricks for exploiting loopholes in systems. Here's how we can take advantage of this loophole in Google's thing here and that loophole in Facebook's thing there.
Yeah.
And that is not sustainable business. But there's this leftover takeaway in a lot of the hypey sales messages for, the one key secret to this and the super secret ninja trick to that. And one of the hardest things to get over is this idea that, if things aren't working, maybe it's not because you just haven't found that one secret ninja trick that you need. Maybe you just need to keep building something sustainable.
Right.
And getting away from the mindset of, that what is the one secret thing that I need or that I'm missing is actually a big part of, that would be the one thing that that you really need.
I love that you talk about that, because that really is, it's that shiny penny syndrome. And I know that, and even if you're trying to avoid it, it's still even hard sometimes, because especially for traditional business owners that are trying to get online, I know when I first started learning about this, it was like there was 50 million things you had to be doing, and this was the hottest, and this was the big secret. No, this is the big secret. And so
it's so baked into our consciousness. I mean, look, we're going to do close to $1 million this year. And sometimes I read these sales letters and my heart starts pounding. It's like, oh my God, what's going to happen if I don't know this little secret? It's like,
right now
I've got to stop myself and be like, damn, what am I thinking? Like,
I know. So so I want to talk about that, because I used to be a seminar junkie, and it took me, I had to have a mentor tell me, you are addicted. You need to, and I think there's a lot of people as entrepreneurs, we're the most susceptible to addiction. And so I think I'd love for you to talk about that. And even hearing that from you is great, because, as leaders in the industry, sometimes you don't think they're the ones that are always just putting it out there, but how do you stop that? And what do you do? Like, what's your process? Do you focus on just 3 things? And how do you stop that epidemic that so many people struggle with?
Okay, so there's a few sides to that, right? So the first side of that is just really listening and not just jumping from shiny object to shiny object. Actually, I wrote about this I send out these daily Q&A emails. I answer people's questions. And I had a series of a couple of these emails. So someone asked a question, and I answered it. I answer the question. It goes out to everyone who receives my emails. Anyone can just reply and ask a question. And, we've grown far enough and fast enough that among all the business owners who follow me, I've also got a bunch of marketers who follow, because they kind of want to see what I'm doing, and they I guess see me as an authority, which is flattering. So thank you. But so one of them replied, and he was like, I think I had a session with the same guy, and I told him the exact same thing. Now, I don't know if it's actually the same guy, but it does point to this phenomenon that, someone has a question, and so they seek out an expert and they ask the question. The expert gives them an answer, and then they go looking for another expert to ask the same question, because it's not the answer that they were looking for.
Yes.
So it's like, if you're consuming information, if you decide to devote some of your attention to something, actually pay enough attention to it so that you can absorb what is there if it's useful to you.
Yes.
And the second thing is that there's like a trade-off in terms of a learning versus doing gap. And you've got to ask yourself, let's say, you see this is the new shiny secret. And I've got to ask myself, let's say that I buy this thing, and I clear the, 10 hours in my schedule, 20 hours in my schedule to watch all the videos or whatever it is, which I don't have. I don't have that kind of time.
Right.
But let's say I do it. And it's really this earth-shattering new strategy. And, in some cases, they're talking about a little tweak or something that you can implement in what you're doing, and I'm more interested in those. They tend to be simpler.
Right.
But it's like this whole other income-getting strategy. And you get excited because, what about the potential? But I'm like, am I really going to, pause everything I'm doing to try out this, goose chase of a project? It's like, no, we have enough on our plate right now.
Exactly.
And we know what the big things are that we want to take bets on. So it kind of comes down to that. I do believe in trying a lot of things, but trying a lot of things is in having a bunch of ideas and giving them all your all in terms of trying to make them happen.
Exactly.
But 20 campaigns executed 10% each will accomplish 0 results. It doesn't matter how good any of those campaigns are.
Exactly.
So, and create a list for yourself. I really don't like how all these information marketers, and I do distinguish between real business educators and information marketers, because it's not the same thing. But all these information marketers creating this false scarcity where it's like, you've got to buy my training today and I'm taking it off the market tomorrow, and if you don't buy it, then you're never going to be able to get in ever again, and your life is going to be miserable forever.
Exactly.
And I agree with, you need to give people a reason to act.
Right.
I do the same thing, but I don't take stuff off. So the price is going to be $30 higher in 3 days. So it's like, it's enough of a reason to act now versus in 3 days if you know you want it.
Right.
But like, I mean, I personally, I don't want customers I have to manipulate into doing business with.
Right.
I think
It's
that's ridiculous.
because I agree too. It's ethical scarcity or whatever the term is that you want to have. But I mean, and people
It's
see
just
through that.
a small kick in the butt for people to take action if they know that's what they already want to do.
Exactly.
And if someone is wrapping something up in this ridiculous amount of false scarcity, that should already be a red flag. You know, I like to tell people that, you know, whenever it comes to a big decision, these are usually the high ticket expensive things. I try not to let my mouth get too far ahead of my brain. So it's like,
that's a tweetable.
Let yourself think.
Yes.
And if that's not the case, if it's not like running out in 24 hours, have a list. Write down, these are the things I want to get next. And when you have some time, kind of say, this is the stuff I've got to get through. When I get through the stuff on my list, I'll go and I'll get one of them.
Right.
And pick the one that looks most appealing and most relevant to what you need to do. I mean, the key thing, if you're not going to implement and act on it in the very near future, then don't waste your time.
It's brilliant advice, and I'm so glad that you're sharing that way, because a lot of people, I know when getting started, so many of us are I mean, I've seen this at event after event after event, and I've seen it everywhere. So it's really important to do that. And my wake-up call was when Keith Cunningham told me to think in second-level consequences. So just what you're saying, are you going to actually go implement it? Are you going to do it? Does it fit into your strategy? So I want to segue now into, you said something where you talk about I don't know what the exact terminology was, but you have a set plan of what you're doing. So I'd love, if you're open to it, sharing what you use in your business, and then we'll go into kind of the email or the content marketing plan for business owners.
So just to clarify, when you say what we use in our business, you mean
your strategies? Like you focus on specific strategies. You're not doing them all. Yeah. So there's
Well, we do, and this is an important distinction also in terms of, like, you don't necessarily want to watch and emulate the industry leaders for a couple of reasons. First of all, I mean, I have 6 people working for me now. So I have the bandwidth to do a lot more than I did when I started out.
Right.
And the second thing, and if you go to firepolemarketing.com, the most popular post on the blog there is called Why Guru Strategies for Blog Growth Don't Work. And it talks about stages of growth. And the idea is that a strategy can be great, but the strategy that gets you from 0 subscribers to 100 is different from the one that gets you from 100 to 1,000, is different from the one that gets you from 1,000 to 10,000. So I can talk about, we're doing a whole bunch of things, but I'll share kind of the key strategies for a few different stages, and then we can kind of dig into one of them. Does that
perfect. I think that'll be great.
Cool. So, and also I want to clarify that we focus in on a very specific category of strategy, which is warm traffic. We don't do search engine optimization. We don't do AdWords. We don't do, we're starting to experiment with that stuff now.
Okay.
And it makes sense to do that when you have funnels that are really well optimized and everything. But up until that point, you want warm traffic. You don't just want eyeballs onto your site. You want people coming to you because they're interested in having a relationship, because they're coming with an endorsement of you and what you have to offer.
Right.
So the only thing I ever recommend to people is warm traffic. So if you're just getting started and nobody knows who you are, you have to start getting noticed. And I teach my students about something called the 10% growth rule, the idea that whatever strategies you're adopting right now, they should be enough to grow your, let's say, subscriber list, because that's a good benchmark for where you're at. They should be enough to grow your subscriber base by at least, I mean, if you're really big, it can be less, but by at least 10% per month.
That's good.
Not more than 25% per month. Because if you try to grow faster than that, especially in a warm traffic context, you're probably asking people for favors that you haven't earned. And that's not going to work. So when you're just starting out, start by finding the communities people that you want to reach or interacting on and participate in those communities. So comment on blogs and participate in forums. And no, that's not going to create a ton of traffic or a ton of subscribers, but it'll get you some. And the owners of those forums will start to notice you. That's how you go kind of from 0 to 100 subscribers. Once people start to know you and recognize that you have something of value to offer, then you can start contributing content to that community. And that's guest posting, that's publishing content, that's interviews and other stuff. Guest posting is the primary vehicle because it's effective and it works very well. And that's the owner of that community taking a bit more of a chance on you yes, I'll put your content in front of my audience, and that's a risk they're taking because you made a good pitch and they saw you interacting in the community, and that vote of confidence translates to more transferred authority to you. And that's how you get from 100 to 1,000 subscribers. And when you've got 1,000 subscribers, the assumption is that you got them by doing all this warm traffic stuff. By this point, you should have built the relationships that will allow you to do stuff like joint ventures and co-promotions and webinars and all that stuff. I mean, on a webinar with a major partner, you can pick up 1,000 subscribers in a day. Mm-hmm. But they're never going to let you get in front of their audience in that way if you haven't really built up a relationship and earned that trust, which is why you don't want to try to jump straight to that. Exactly.
I love it. So that's brilliant. I mean, it really is. It's about building the relationships for the long term and having the right content, because when they put you in front of your tribe, it's so powerful when you do it right, and how it can help with your business. So let's talk about the different, so that's great for the different levels. So what about people just getting started out? Typically, if they're wanting to create an online business and maybe they have a brick and mortar business, what's the best way for them to start implementing content into their strategy?
Well, the first thing you want to get clear on is, because people are so good at jumping into this half-cocked and no planned. So you've got a brick and mortar business and you want to go online. What is the goal for that?
Right.
Brick and mortar businesses have geographic constraints that online businesses don't. Mm-hmm. That online promotion doesn't. So you've got to kind of ask yourself the question, if I'm running a natural health food store in Nebraska, is an international audience going to do much for my business, right? And that's a question you want to answer. And at a high level, there are two ways in which an online presence and following can fit into your sales cycle. The way that most people think of it is lead generation. So people find out about you through your website or online presence, and they eventually end up buying something from you, which is kind of what you want. Mm-hmm. The other option is that fits into the sales cycle much later. They meet you the way they've always been meeting you, through your local promotions or through networking events or through whatever you happen to be doing. But when they go online to check you out, which a lot of people are going to do, they say, oh, wow, these are the authorities. Of course I'm going to do business with them. And it's more about helping you close the sale. And so the first thing that I'd say is get clear, but you need very different things. The kind of online presence you need to do these things is different. Mm-hmm. So the first thing you need to do if you're a brick and mortar business that wants to go online is get clear about, well, what are you trying to accomplish here? If you were to get leads from all over the country or all over the world, can you service those leads, or are they just going to waste all your customer service time? So get clear on that. Do you want to go through a particular scenario? Do you want to say that they do want to service online?
I think we should. I think that'd be great, because you can help them in so many different avenues that way. And then I want to go into the online side strictly, but I think so many people want to with businesses are realizing content can really help them. So yeah, let's go for a scenario.
Sure. So let's do two scenarios. One scenario is that, let's say you're a local toy store. I actually spoke with a toy store owner in, I want to say Chicago, but I'm not sure. And we talked about exactly this kind of thing. And a national or international or even regional audience wouldn't be helpful. Customers in her city, that is right. That is what she needs.
Yes.
And so people aren't going to probably find her online, but she doesn't need them to find her online because she's been running a store for 10 years. She's got lots of foot traffic into the store. What she can do is use online channels to increase the value of each customer. So to give people reasons to come back. And people usually do this horribly. They'll hear some marketer tell them that you should capture people's email addresses. They'll grab people's email addresses and then blast out, discount sales every week, which is a bad idea for two reasons. First of all, it annoys people. And annoying people is not a good strategy for getting them to give you money.
Right.
This shouldn't have to be spelled out, but people who don't like you will not pay you unless they have no choice, like with AT&T or whatever.
Right.
But, I'm assuming you're not running a massive protected semi-monopoly.
Yeah.
So if that's not the case, don't piss people off. It's not a good way to get them to pay you.
Yep.
So it's not a good strategy. But even if it were to get more people to come in and buy from you sustainably, slashing prices is always the worst move you can make as a marketer, because you slash the price, which is your gross, but your losses come out of the net. So for example, if she's selling a toy for $10 and she's got to pay, some of that goes to pay for her rent, for the salaries of her staff. She's got to pay for the inventory. So her profit on that is $20, is rather $2. So let's say it's $100. Her profit's $20. If she says 10% off, for the customer, it's just 10%. Big deal. For her, 10 out of those $20 is half of her profits.
Right.
So what that would mean is that she would have to double the amount of sales she's making just to break even in terms of profit. And the odds of a 10% reduction in price doubling your sales are very slim.
Yeah.
So it's a horrible strategy across the board. Instead of that, what you can do is say, well, I'm running an educational toy store. People are coming into my store because, these are concerned parents who want to do fun educational activities. They're probably invested in the development of their kids. What if we create a Science Explorers Club for kids aged 9 to 11? So it's super narrow, super niche. They can sign up for that. And once every 2 weeks, I'll send out a little science project that the parents can do with their kids at home. And some of these things may involve stuff that you can buy at my shop. Some of them may not, depending on what the activity is. But in all cases, this parent is going to get to spend a fun hour or two with their kid thanks to you. So whenever you send them an email, it's like, sweet, something else awesome just arrived in my inbox.
Exactly.
And you do this for 6 months, and suddenly you've got 500 people who excitedly open your email.
Yeah.
And you say, well, what if I put on an event? I'm going to sponsor, there's a big park across the street. I'm going to sponsor a geology scavenger hunt for 9 to 11-year-olds. I'm going to email all these parents, and the home base of this thing is going to be my store. And so suddenly you've got a ridiculous amount of foot traffic. Everyone's buying stuff. Your whole expense to do this is what, like lemonade? Like it's trivial.
Exactly.
And it's tons and tons of results. And at the same time, if I'm telling people about science activities that do involve stuff at my store, some of them are going to come pick it up. Some of them are going to come get something from my store just because this reminder in their inbox every week or every 2 weeks it keeps it top of mind. So they think to come in. Next time they want to buy a birthday gift for someone, or well, I guess for someone's kid, it's going to occur to them that, hey, I can go to this store. You've just got more mind share, and you've done it by actually doing things that people appreciate.
Yeah.
But this is totally different from the trying to get customers to find you online and then come into the store, which is, it's a different kind of strategy.
Yeah. I think it's brilliant. Because a lot of people are always, it's content. Content's king. And I like to take it one step further. It's engagement. It's really that level. And that's so brilliant. I mean, every business owner could implement that, whether you're selling toys
Absolutely.
or widgets or online things, and creating that engagement. And I love to, and I forgot to mention this, but you said in your emails, you have them answer questions back. Like you answer questions. And that's your level of engagement there that brings people in. So let's go to the online
absolutely.
side.
I mean, just to elaborate on that, people ask me all the time, because we have 20,000 subscribers now. So I mean, if I write and I forget sometimes I'll ask a question like, holy crap, my inbox is flooded with 150 messages.
If you're gonna do it, you gotta remember you're gonna get responses.
And I answer every email.
That's awesome.
And I answer every email within 24 hours. I don't do that thing where someone emails me and I'll get back to them in like a month. That's not cool.
Yeah, exactly.
And people ask me, how do you have time to do that? How can you justify doing that? You're trying to run a business. And this is running my business.
Exactly.
If I send, because here's what happens in someone's head. They download something, they subscribe to a newsletter. So in their head, some black robot box kind of thing is sending them emails. And it's not about good or bad or useful or not, but it's sent by a robot. There's no personal connection. The moment they reply to that email, and I reply back, we have a conversation, even if it's like a really short one. Every time they receive an email from me, it's different. It's not in the category of all the emails that are being sent by robots. This is an email from someone they've corresponded with, and this gets addressed first.
Exactly.
Now, of course, if I were to send crap all the time, then people would unsubscribe. So you've also got to send good stuff.
Right.
But sending good stuff is not a competitive differentiator. Sending good stuff is table stakes. If you don't do that, you don't get to play.
I love that my first experience was because when I first got into online, I was signing up on all these lists and everything. I mean, literally too many, like we all go through. The one person that had sent over an email that asked a question, I found her from some random thing, didn't even know who she was really, and got this email, and I'm like, oh, she's asking me a question, and that actually pertains to me. I replied, and now we're really like become best friends because of it. And that strategy, I love that you talk about that because it does work so well, and that's what I'm using now going forward because of that engagement. And everybody, you stand out immediately amongst all anybody's email list out there.
And people ask me, what is your secret? What is your one trick? And I'm like, I answer emails. I answer my emails. Like, and it's funny. It didn't even start as like, a strategy or something. It was just, there were emails in my inbox. I thought it would be rude not to answer them. So I answered them. And over time, I was like, wow, this is actually like, nobody else does this. What is wrong with everyone? But like, okay, if being polite can be my competitive differentiation, like,
isn't that
cool.
Crazy? I think I was reading an article on Forbes, or somebody was just talking about doing the normal, like just what you think customer service really is what stands out in the marketplace today. So, and like Marcus Sheridan always says, the honest marketer. And so many people are hiding all the facts about their company. And today the consumers can find out anything. So you might as well put the content out there and engage with them to take it.
People respond so well to that too. It's funny, we were having discussions about this internally just for the last few days. So we just launched a bit of the backstory on this story. We just launched our Business Ignition Bootcamp. It's this massive give back to the community kind of project. We invested a ton of our own money and time and resources, like $130,000, to take on 200 people and work with them intensely for 6 weeks on this training. And it was totally for free. And so we're doing a lot of things that are new. We're piloting a lot of really kind of cutting edge ideas around how to do effective education.
I love it.
And so you take on 200 super excited people, you do a lot of things new. Some things are bound to break in the first week. So if the content is great, the experience is great, everyone's happy, but there have been a few glitches.
Yeah.
And people were like internally wondering, well, does that damage our brand? Do we have a problem there? And I said, like, first of all, if we have so many problems that people are not appreciating what they're getting, then that is not like a branding problem. That's a quality problem. It's like, if you're always admitting you don't know is fine. If you're always admitting you don't know, then it's not the problem is not that you're admitting it. The problem is that you never know. Right. So you do have to know, and 90% of the time our stuff is great and everything is good.
Yeah.
With the other 10%, it's not about just the outcome. It's about the narrative explaining the outcome. So when you get crappy service from your telecommunications or wireless provider or whatever, it fits into a story of, well, they're this giant, inefficient conglomerate that doesn't care about me and is just trying to squeeze money out of me and is probably out to screw me.
Right.
And it just goes into that story. But the narrative that we've built with our audience, which is reinforced by the fact that when we make a mistake, we fess up and we talk about it and we share the experience and we ask people for help. The narrative is that we are human and we fail, but we're trying our best and you can trust us to try our best.
Right.
And things sometimes break because we try things that are cutting edge and risky, and we're taking those risks because we care about our customers.
Right.
So you like in some ways, a flawless execution of a new campaign or a new thing is not as good as a 95% great, 5% flawed, and we're public about the flaws.
Yeah.
In terms of building relationships with our audience. So it's not just that they're going to find out anyway.
Right.
It's that you get to, and obviously it has to be authentic and it has to reflect what is actually happening. You can't create a fictitious narrative.
Right.
But assuming you're in this because you care about your customers, and if not, then, do something else anyway.
Yeah.
Like, assuming you're in this because you care about your customers, we like to say internally that people have this idea that you have to make the decision between, do I do kind of the smart business thing to make money or the right thing, the good thing? And the fact is that with very rare exceptions, the smart business thing is the right thing.
Yeah. And I love how you're talking about the human factor of what you're doing with that, because I think it just makes it even, that trust is leveled even higher, even elevated even more. Because when you see these things that are flawless, one, your audience sometimes thinks, well, I'm never going to be able to get to that level and do that. I mean, they're perfect. They're like, and I think when you unveil, show the curtain, show Oz, and help people see that trust just opens up more, and you really become the defining expert in their eyes. So I think that's incredible what you're talking about there. So let's shift over to the online space then. So what about a content strategy? Because a lot of, if you've been studying this and been trying to figure out how to get your business online or create an online business, you've heard a lot about a content strategy. So can you talk about what is an effective strategy to start and what people should be focusing on?
Sure. So you've got to do that kind of participating in a community, interacting on forums, interacting in comments and stuff, because you won't be able to do the next step if people don't know you and trust you a little bit. Mm-hmm. But let's skip past that because it's not a huge step. It's just like a necessary first step. Mm-hmm. The next step of a content strategy is usually guest posting. And here's why. The number one rule of content is that if nobody sees it, it doesn't do anything.
Exactly.
Not brain surgery.
Yeah.
And people are like, blogging like crazy, publishing content every day on their blog that nobody reads.
Right.
They come to me and they say, I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. I'm working so hard. I'm publishing content every day and I'm still not getting anyone reading my blog.
Right.
And I say, I'm sorry, but what you're doing is wrong, is publishing content every day on a blog that nobody's reading.
Right.
And so if that's your situation, or if you're just getting started, I'm not saying not to have a blog. I mean, I think ideally you don't want to have a blog to start. A landing page is enough. Mm-hmm. But if you've got a blog, that's fine, but slow down. Don't publish on your blog more than 2 to 4 times per month maximum. Mm-hmm. And all the rest of your content, you want to be writing a lot of content, but put it in places that the people you want to reach are reading. So put it on major blogs. Approach them and say, I want to write a post for you. Mm-hmm. Will you take a look? And often the answer is yes, especially if you approach them properly. And there's a short version of an email that you can use to approach them. If I'm sure you can find it, a link below this, but if you go to Firepole Marketing, on the most popular post somewhere, there's one called How I Became the Freddy Krueger of Blogging. Mm-hmm. There's an email template right in that post, like you don't have to pay for it or download it or anything like that. And it's a great way to start that approach if you're not sure how to go about it. But create that content and put it on major blogs that people are reading. And when they come back to your site, make sure they don't just come to a homepage where there's, they can just look around. They come to a page where you give them a good reason to give you their name and email address because they want to continue a relationship with you.
Exactly. It's brilliant. And the guest posting is phenomenal because you have the trust of the person that's already built the audience. They're lending that credibility as, hey, this is the expert in XYZ. Mm-hmm. And so you want to have really epic content too on there to bring that. And I love that where you're talking about, because there are a lot of strategies out there where people tell, blog every day, get out there. And it's not effective for people.
Well, and blogging every day isn't getting out there. That's the problem. It's like, blogging every day is staying in here.
Exactly. It's in your own little space. That's it. So having that exposure. So that's phenomenal. I love that. So I'd love for you to train on what are some other. So once we've got that established, we're starting to build credibility. They're growing their list and they're getting great content out there. What's the next step?
Let's talk instead about, because the next step is to start doing, to leverage the relationships you've built. If I've published half a dozen successful guest posts on a major blog, mm-hmm. and their audience has responded well, at that point, going to that blogger and saying, look, your audience likes what I produce. How would you like for me to do this or that free training, or for you to promote this thing I've done? It's not a hard thing to ask for because they know their audience is going to like it.
Right.
The bigger challenge that most people have is getting from the point of, I think I need to guest post on these big blogs and I need to approach them, to the point where it's like, okay, I'm there. I've done it and I have the 1,000 subscribers. I'm ready to ask for more. That's really the challenging point. So maybe let's explore that.
Absolutely. That's great, because that really is where I'm going, but I didn't say it the right way.
Sure. So what I'll try to put forward, we don't have a lot more time, but what I'll try to put forward is kind of the steps that you can take to get one successful blog post written and published on a major blog, and you can then replicate that. Just do it, 80 times.
Perfect.
And you'll have it on 80 blogs.
Follow Freddy. That's what we're doing here.
Right. So first, find the blog that you want to write for. It's got to be a major blog. It's got to have enough of a readership to do something for you. Look at their most popular posts and find what are the recurring themes in terms of the stuff that this audience regularly responds well to. Draw yourself a little Venn diagram. There's, the Olympic rings Venn diagram. One is the stuff that their audience usually responds well to. The other bubble is what your focus is. Find that area of intersection. Where do those two topics intersect? That is a topic of your blog post. That's what you're going to write about. Now, here's how you write the post. There are 5 sections to almost every good blog post. And this is just a general copywriting formula that works really well. And by the way, I teach all this in detail in my Write Like Freddy training. You can go to writelikefreddy.com and it's there, but like we'll talk through it all now. So the first section is the hook. You've got to grab someone's attention. And here's how you do the hook. You don't start by talking about the problem or the solution or your ideas, nothing like that. You just describe in gut-wrenching, visceral, really, really clear, explicit detail the pain, the symptomatic pain, the experience that someone is having right now that you're going to solve in the post, or the delight that they want but don't have. Just describe them, one or the other. And if you describe the pain, then you're going to say it doesn't have to be this way, ... If you describe the delight, you can say here's how to have it, ... That's it. That's your hook. The next section is the problem. So it's not the problem as you see it, it's the problem as the reader sees it. So they know they have this pain, or they know they don't have this delight, otherwise your hook wouldn't resonate.
Right.
Why do they think that's the case? Why do they think they have this pain? Why do they think they don't have this delight? And explain that as the problem. And then the next step is you're going to go one step further and talk about the root of the problem, which is your insight into why they have this problem. And this is the real problem, because if they were right about the problem, they would have solved it, right?
Yep.
But it's important that they feel listened to and understood. So here's your experience. Here's why you think it's the case. Now let me tell you why it's really the case. And you explain your insights. And from there you go to the solution. You explain here's how to solve it. And they're ready and waiting and eager, because basic human psychology says that if I can explain the problem to you better than you can, you will trust that I have the answer. So you explain the solution, and then you talk about what they need to do next to start implementing it. So it could be, click here, go there, buy that. But it can also just be, so now that we've talked about the solution, block off 30 minutes this afternoon to take this first step that we talked about. And then you're going to have a little engagement building question, something that's going to ask them to respond or interact or something, and your byline, and you're done. That's it.
Oh, I love it. It's so brilliant how you've put that together. You've just taught, and that works for everybody. What I love about it is everybody can have their own voice, because some people are like, well, that's the same thing that everybody, it works though. It's like a long drawn out sales copy, but you've just shortened it into a great guest blog post. And I love where you're talking about the hook, bringing them in and keeping it simple. This is brilliant. So I'm going to make sure we have all this in the show notes so everybody can connect with Danny and how to do that.
It's all the same in the sense that, every story has a beginning, middle, and end.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that each author doesn't have their own voice. It's just that this is a structure that makes it easy for the reader to follow the train of thought that you're trying to share. And that's it. That's all the structure does.
Right. And the best point I love about what you made is that if you can explain the problem better, if I've noticed the people that I resonate with, they've explained what I know the problem is, but they've just verbalized it or have heard it or however they've written it out where it captures my attention. I'm like, oh, that's really, yeah, okay, now I'm going to listen. So you could really grab people's attention even more that way. So that's brilliant. So this has just been phenomenal.
Do we have a minute? I'll share. There's a really great illustration of this. So anyone who wants to, you can embed the video below, but anyone who wants, just go to YouTube, do a search for It's Not About the Nail. And you've got this 90-second video, which is hilarious, about this woman complaining about, she's got this pain in her head and it's stressing her out, and you feel like you're listening to like a counseling session or something. It's a really serious issue, and like 30 seconds in, she turns, you see there's a nail stuck in her head. And the guy says, I think there's a nail in your head. And she's like, it's not about the nail. You never listen to me. And it's this like really classic conversation that everyone's going to relate to. And it's really funny because, it plays off the stereotypes, and we've all been in those situations. But this is really reflective of any time you're trying to talk to anyone. So if I was that guy and I'm trying to, I want to help this person, I want to get this nail out of her head, you're going to start by talking about the symptoms, right? I understand how you feel. You've got this pain in your head, and, it's stressing you out, and you're not sleeping well at night because, you can't roll onto your front. It just makes it worse. And your sweaters are getting snagged, and it's terrible. And then you go on to talk about the problem as they see it. Now, I know that you think that, the root of this is something probably really fundamental. Maybe there's something psychologically wrong with you. Maybe you need medication. And it's, that's a scary place to be, right? Who knows what the problem is? And then you talk about the root of the problem. Now, I know you might think that, but here's what I want you to do. Just humor me. Put your finger on your nose and slide it up, and oh, there's a nail. That might be what's causing the problem. So now let me tell you what you need to do. Go to the solution, right?
Yep.
Go to the hardware store, get a pair of pliers and a mirror. You're going to line yourself up like this, so you're kind of at an angle. You're going to pull the nail out, but make sure you pull it out straight out. That's what you're going to do next. And here's the next step. So block off 30 minutes this afternoon to go to the hardware store and get those pliers. And after you do that, and after you come back, take it out carefully, get some help if you need it. But after that, come back and leave a comment and let me know about your experience and how this has affected you so that you can share your insights with our other readers. And if you want to know more about how you can solve problems with nails and heads and other, head-related problems, click here to download my free ebook about 7 ways you can get nails out of heads.
I love it. I mean, you're so brilliant at that. But that's perfect. That's the step-by-step. And then you've got the call to action, which I think a lot of people miss out on. They don't have the right call to action to drive the traffic for that work that they just did. So that is super powerful.
Yeah, a good formula for that, because people get tripped up on their byline. They're like, I do such and such, visit my website, and there's a URL. Nobody clicks on those.
Yep.
Here's what you want the byline to read. Your name, who does, fill in the blank, whatever you do. For, fill in the blank, your target customer. Offers, fill in the blank, whatever it is that you are offering them, and that's a link for them to go get it.
Perfect. That's a perfect formula. I love it. This is so great. This is exactly why you've just blown up. It's just phenomenal. Your training and what you teach is phenomenal. So the last question I have for you before we end here is what I like to call the 5-minute makeover, the $1 million question. If you had to start over all from scratch today and you didn't have the network or the audience that you built, and you don't have any of the resources, what would you do to start over and rebuild your empire?
Okay, well, so first of all, just full disclosure, this is exactly what we teach people how to do in our Audience Business Masterclass. So if you go to audiencebiz.com, you can sign up for the very detailed step-by-step plan on how to do exactly that.
Okay.
But the very first thing I would do, and it's one of those things, it's not sexy, it's not cool, but it's exactly what you need to do, is get really clear about who I want to serve, what I'm going to do for them that's going to be super impactful, and how I can package that so that they're going to remember me. So in other words, my positioning against the competition, what can I do for them that nobody else can? Why would they need me? And then your niche superhero angle, why they're going to remember you, what you are the absolute #1 go-to authority on. So what did people, now I'm known for all kinds of things, but what did people remember me for originally? I was the Freddy Krueger of blogging.
Exactly.
Right? So you start with what is that one thing?
Yep.
And then you're going to build some basic foundational stuff. So you need a page where people can give you their name and email address. You need a good reason for them to want to do it. So something that they can get in exchange for that. And it shouldn't be something super complicated and elaborate. It should be something you can put together quickly. It's not a huge commitment of their time and energy. And a few initial emails that are queued up that when they subscribe, they'll get them like, here's the thing that you asked for. And, if you have questions, please respond, get people to start engaging. And none of that should take very long. Like, even if you're really putting a lot into it, you're doing it for the first time, this shouldn't take more than a month and a half. And then get out there and start interacting with people and start doing exactly what we just talked about. The first 100 subscribers or so will come from commenting on forums and participating in the comment section of blogs, etc. And then start publishing guest posts. In other words, I'd recreate exactly what I did, minus all of the other things that I did that didn't work.
And I'm glad you say that, because that is, a lot of people don't shed light on that, but it's powerful.
There's a ton of stuff. I could write, never mind a book, I could write an encyclopedia of all the stuff I tried that didn't work. I think I said that before. It's like,
just keep it simple. Yeah, exactly. And it works. It's brilliant how quickly it can happen when you do it right with that process. So I think it's just absolutely phenomenal. So thank you again. This was brilliant. So if you can share with everybody where they can go find out more about you.
Sure, absolutely. So, they call me the Freddy Krueger of blogging. So, if you Google me, you'll find, a bazillion results. So, rather than pointing you to all the different things I've done, the very best place to get to know me and my work is my book, Engagement from Scratch, which has over 100 5-star reviews on Amazon. You can get it in paperback or on Kindle. And if you want to, then that's great. But what you can also do is go to engagementfromscratch.com, and you can download the whole book for free. It's not like 2 chapters and you can buy the rest. The whole book is there, no strings, nothing missing. And if you reply to any email that you get from me, including the one that says, here's the link to download the book, it will go straight to my inbox, and I answer all of my emails within 24 hours. If there is something I can do to help you, I would love to connect with you and do whatever I can.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you so much, Danny. This is so exciting, and it's just been an honor and a pleasure to have you here. So again, thank you for sharing this information. I look forward to future interviews with you.
The pleasure has been mine. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And I hope you enjoyed that episode. I'd love to get your feedback here for the Lifestylepreneur podcast right in iTunes. Simply leave us a 5-star and a review letting us know what you like, who you're interested in hearing more from, and what topics you really want help with in your business, that I can bring on those key experts to really fine tune and help you in your business and creating the lifestyle of your dreams. And I'll be giving shout outs, so make sure you put your name and your website address if you want me to share that with the community as well. And again, thanks for listening. I'm so excited that you found the Lifestylepreneur podcast, and I can't wait to connect with you and learn more about your business as we continue to grow this community. So again, have a great day, and I'll talk to you next week. Thank you for tuning in to the Lifestylepreneur podcast. Again, I'm Kris Gilbertson, and I'm committed to bringing you top training from leading lifestylepreneurs all over the world to help you break through and turn your dreams into your ideal lifestyle. And make sure to join us at www.lifestyleacademy.com to receive VIP training from specific guests I interview on the show, so that you can really easily start to implement what you've learned from listening. I know we're all busy, and sometimes we don't have time to listen to the entire podcast or take notes, because I'm always listening on the go. So I like to call it the Lifestyle Cliff Notes to creating your ideal business and make it really simple for you. So those will be sent via the email list. Plus, I also want to connect with you personally, and being on the Lifestyle Academy mailing list is where all the magic happens. We'll host VIP trainings once a month that we can't always bring out on the podcast with even more detailed information. And I also want to connect with you personally. I want to know what's going on in your business and what you need help with, and who I can bring on to aid you in creating your ideal lifestyle. And so I'll be asking questions every once in a while that I want you to reply, and I reply back to you personally. So again, until next time, wishing you on your way to achieving all of your dreams. Talk to you soon.